Warning, this video may include graphic content. Viewer discretion is advised. Enjoy the video. Everybody, welcome back to another video here on my channel. Today we are going to be reading the story of the Long Island Railroad shooting. Before we get started, I just want to say to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications so that way you never miss another video like this. Please go follow my Twitter. I'm getting so close to 1,000 follows, and it will be amazing. I plan on getting a supported creator code as soon as possible after I do hit 1,000 follows, and I'll also be doing a massive giveaway. More on that in a future video, and let's get started. It was a typical rush hour day on the Long Island Railroad train. People were getting home from work, but then a man pulled out a pistol and started firing indiscriminately into the crowds. The crime and the subsequent trial of Colin Ferguson was one of the strangest ever in the United States. December 7, 1993, Colin Ferguson purchased a ticket for the eastbound train and boarded at Flatbush Avenue, Brooklyn. He sat on the third car along with more than 80 passengers, but Colin Ferguson was not like the rest of the commuters heading home after a day of work. Ferguson was born in 1958 in Kingston, Jamaica. He was the son of a wealthy pharmacist, one of the country's most prominent businessmen. His school principal described him as a well-rounded student. He played cricket and soccer, graduating in the top third of his class. When Colin Ferguson was 20. Also, if I'm butchering that last name, I'm very sorry. His father was killed in a plane crash. His mother died from cancer a short time afterwards. The family lost its fortune, and the two deaths in a quick succession had a big impact on Colin. He moved to the United States in 1982 on a visitor's visa, but he found himself in a country where he could only get menial jobs. He blamed racism for this. Marrying a U.S. resident in 1986, he moved to Long Island. He and his wife, Audrey, often fought. By 1988, they were divorced. Audrey's friend said Ferguson was too angry and antagonistic. After sustaining an injury at his clerical job, Ferguson enrolled in community college. He transferred later to Adelphia University in Garden City. There he became more politically active. He lamented black people's coexistence with white people. He made frequent calls for a revolution. Ferguson was also falsely accused a number of people of racism. Eventually, he was suspended. By 1991, Ferguson was poor and unemployed, living in Flatbush. Neighbors said he had delusions of grandeur, believing that only white people were holding him back. In 1992, he had several run-ins with the law and finally won a settlement for his earlier work-based. After a brief stint trying to find work in California, where he bought a gun, he moved back to New York. He seemed even more disjointed than before and frequently muttered to himself about race-based revolutions and conflicts. Eventually, his landlord asked him to move out. On December 7, 1993, Ferguson boarded... I'm assuming that says Ferguson boarded a train. I'm getting annoyed with these blank spots. It would be his last journey. Ferguson rode the train. Yeah, it was train. Ferguson rode the train with a Ruger P-89 in his pocket and a canvas bag filled with additional rounds. He had 160 rounds stashed away. His head was filled with accusations of racism and revenge. The train approached Maryland Avenue Station. Before it could stop, as people were standing to exit, Ferguson drew the pistol. Several cartridges spilled onto the ground. The noise lost amid the general hubbub of the crowd. Ferguson took aim and pulled the trigger, again and again. He fired into the crowd, spending 3 minutes shooting at anything that moved. At first, people mistook the gunshots for caps or fireworks. But then a woman shouted, "He's got a gun!" People started to panic. They ran, but the train was not yet in the station. There was nowhere to go. Space cleared around Ferguson. He strode forward down the train, firing his gun every half second. Passengers who rode themselves stuck on the train tried to hide under the seats. Others fled down the length of the train. They tried to enter the next car, hammering on the door. Anyone who came close to Ferguson got shot. Each time he heard a new victim, each time he reached a new victim, he looked them briefly in the eye. Then he opened fire. "I'm going to get you," he yelled again and again as the air grew thick with the smell of corset and panic. In the other carriages, the passengers did not know what was happening until the train came to a stop. When the doors opened, the passengers from Ferguson's carriage spilled out onto the platform. 2 people were injured in the stampede. The train still had not come to a complete stop. When the conductor realized what had happened, he had a choice: open the doors or not. Not every carriage was at the platform. The passengers in Ferguson's carriage would be able to escape, but the rest would be sitting ducks. He chose not to open the doors. Noticing the panic, the engineer climbed out of a window and forcibly opened each of the carriage doors from the outside. Panicking passengers rushed past him. Meanwhile, Ferguson was reloading. While he was focused on the gun, someone yelled, "Grab him!" 3 passengers, Michael O'Connor, Kevin Blum, and Mark McEntee, jumped at Ferguson and wrestled him into one of the seats. They would later meet the president, who commended them for their heroism. Soon after passengers joined, they pinned down each of his limbs, making sure he could not move. Ferguson, knowing he was trapped, began to plead with the passengers. "Oh, God," he cried. "What did I do? What did I do? I deserve whatever I get." Outside the station, an off-duty cop named Andrew Roderick noticed the commotion. He was supposed to be picking up his wife. He ran outside the station, straight to the train, while the passengers held down Ferguson. Roderick placed him under arrest. By that time, 6 people were dead and 19 more had been injured. The investigation that followed the LIRR shooting was brief. Though the resulting trial was something of a sensation, investigators determined that Ferguson had spent little more than a week planning the attack. Ferguson's calmness as he sat in the police car was also remarked upon. He seemed eerily unemotional, barely aware of the world around him. His pockets were filled with scraps of paper, covered in the handwritten notes about racism and injustices. Those who questioned him described him as lucid and clear and aware, though he showed no remorse. When he was arraigned, Ferguson entered no plea. Ferguson's appointed attorney was a man named Anthony J. Falanga. Falanga began to arrange for an insanity defense, though it would be difficult to secure. Ferguson was placed on suicide watch. Within a week, he fired Falanga and replaced him with a Colin A. Moore. Moore tried to have the trial moved to Brooklyn and a short time later withdrew his representation. Ferguson was again happy with the dismissal of the lawyer. He felt Moore had lacked integrity. By January 5th, Ferguson had no lawyer and had been declared sane enough. The grand jury indictment carried the possibility of 175 years behind bars. By March, Ferguson was represented by two new attorneys, William Kunstler and Ron Cubby. They worked for free, claiming that Ferguson had been made out to be a monster by the media. After they made numerous appearances on TV, meanwhile, Ferguson was incarcerated. While inside, he claimed that correction officers had beaten him and deprived him of necessities. On March 23rd, Ferguson was attacked by a group of inmates. They broke his nose and left him with severe bruising. Prison guards deliberately showed Ferguson any newspaper articles which issued for him to be executed. Ferguson and his lawyers claimed that he was being harassed. Ferguson's lawyers were putting together a strange case. They argued that Ferguson had driven to insanity by racism. They labeled the term Black Rage. Around this time, Ferguson began to deny he had carried out the shooting at all. He told people he was receiving messages from God, but when lawyers petitioned again to have him declared insane, Ferguson fired them. He insisted that he had been involved in the shooting. He insisted that it was a conspiracy. He rejected the Black Rage defense. He chose to represent himself. The trial was broadcasted across America. During the trial, Ferguson cross-examined police officers and even his own victims. He argued that he had brought the gun onto the train but had fallen asleep. Someone else had grabbed the gun and started killing people. He spoke for one witness, Rael Diaz, who claimed to have seen an Oriental man implement a chip of Ferguson's head before the attack. Diaz was not called to the stand. Throughout the trial, Ferguson referred to himself in the third person. He had even tried to call Bill Clinton as a defense witness. Ferguson at one stage even wanted to question himself on the witness stand, but he failed. Despite Ferguson's best efforts, the jury found him guilty on February 17, 1995. He was convicted on all counts. He received 315 years and 8 months. Ferguson remains in prison to this day. The trial became something of a national sensation. After the fiscal honor of attack, the absurd defense Ferguson put on was mocked on shows like Saturday Night. In the space of a few years, Colin Ferguson went from being a nobody to a monster to a joke. Which one of these labels is true? However, remains uncertain. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications so that we never miss another video. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.